Well, yesterday was a great day because the government announced that they were going to ban new prescriptions of puberty blockers for gender-confused children. It's been something that New Zealand First and Winston Peters have been talking about a lot. In fact, we saw in the recent AGM that he brought up the banning of puberty blockers, and he joins us now. Winston Peters, thank you for your time. Yesterday was a good day, wasn't
it? Well, it was, but, it's just taken so long since we got the CAS review out of the UK and started asking the health department here, what are your views on this? And they hadn't even read the darn thing. And so it's taken us far longer than we thought, but at least we got there now. The other side, though, concerns me. I picked up the New Zealand Herald today, and there's no mention of New Zealand First at all. Not even in there. They've gone to the Greens, they've gone to the other parties, none of whom were even making a word about this, and they've totally left us out. Now, I can handle that because basically we've got alternatives for mainstream media, but I thought it was actually disgraceful that apart from that article, the rest of the mainstream media virtually said nothing about it at all.
Yeah, I actually had a look at the Radio New Zealand coverage, and it was 4-1, basically four opponents of the decision, including the radical Partha and transgender doctors, basically. And then I think there was one line from Professor Charlotte Paul from Otago University that's put up some fight. Winston, why has it taken so long? Because we had the CAS review, like you said, back in April, and then we had the Ministry of Health review in December. They asked for submissions. They came out quite clearly and said this medication isn't safe, it's not effective. Why have we had to wait until November now to get a decision from the government? What was holding it up in your view?
Well, we first went to Minister Reddy when he was the Minister of Health. Then, of course, the Minister changed, so we had to start all over again. But in the end, how shall I say it? You've got to take responsibility. Even we have to, instead of saying, we trusted them to get on with it, and they didn't. Until we started saying, this is coming to the end of 2025. What on earth's going on? And then we finally got some action.
So what, I mean, if it's passed off by Cabinet...
By the way, when you had these other people on morning on Radio New Zealand calling themselves experts, they're not experts at all. This is what's disgraceful about them. All the scientific evidence, all the medical evidence in the CAS report, and it was so dramatic that it affected the UK Parliament. So they acted upon it, and we said we've got to do something to do the same. And yet it was stalled here, but that's the way it is. You've really got to almost say, this is what you're going to do, and this is the timeline, and you're not going to consult yourselves into oblivion on the way through.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but just yesterday, ironically, there was a major report released by the HHS in the US, the Department of Health in the US, peer-reviewed reports basically coming to the same conclusion. I see up in Canada, the state of Alberta has basically stepped in to enforce the ban on puberty blockers there. So it seems like the cards are crumbling around the world. But the question I was going to ask you was, for this decision to come out of government and for the Minister of Health, Simeon Brown, to make the announcement, that would mean buy-in from all three coalition partners. So ACTA totally on board, Nationals totally on board?
Well, just carefully contrast Casey Costello's puberty blockers banned for children press statement with the other press statement, and there's your answer. But are we going to drive it to an outcome? We've already got there. In a date in December. That's it.
Yeah. And that's
until we get the updated review from CAS.
And any idea of, what's been the information coming through from the UK in terms of what is the timing of that?
No, I haven't got any information on that score, but I have had a fascinating lot of interest out of Australia on this issue, because it is perceived that they haven't gone far enough, nearly far enough in the way we are. And also, if you look on social media, this is getting into the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands now. Now, that's a better barometer of the public concern and public interest.
Mm. My understanding is that even when the Cass review came out, it still wasn't persuasive on the on some of your coalition partners. How hard have you had to push on this issue?
You're entirely right, which what we found staggering, because the next question we said was, have you bothered to read it yet? And the answer was no. I mean, round about then, we thought, well, now we're not going to muck around. We're going to press this as hard as we can and start asking for a response. I was the first to admit this should have been done a long, long time ago. But there's a lot of things going on, and you expect people, when they give you their word and officials say we're looking into it, to get on with the darn job. Unfortunately, you'll know as a parent, sometimes you've got to check out what the kids are doing.
Now, look, one thing I was fascinated by, though, was the fact that ACT said they were supporting the ban on puberty blockers, and yet they unanimously supported the flawed conversion therapy ban, which of course criminalises therapists who want to affirm biological sex. That's deemed to be a form of conversion therapy if you don't go along with the fascinations of the client. So, I mean, and I know that you weren't in Parliament when the conversion therapy law was rammed through. Is it time to relook at that law and actually protect parents, professionals, pastors, people who want to help kids with gender confusion and not be criminalised for it? Because that law still does it, no matter what we say about puberty blockers.
Well, the answer to your question is probably, but I'd rather consult my colleagues in New Zealand first before I can make that commitment. But the answer in everything that I instinctively think is, yeah, probably seriously, and probably should have been done before. And the other thing here on this puberty blocker thing, as I was saying to the National Party and the ACT Party was, stand back and watch. You're going to get sued for a failure to exercise a duty of care on this matter. And you'll have been the cause of it if we don't do something. Even now we leave ourselves exposed by the past administration going down that pathway. But there'll be some young children growing up, and a decent lawyer will say to them, look, you were owed a duty of care by parliamentarians and they let you down. Why not you sue them? I can see it coming.
Yep. And I actually looked at the 2022 budget, which was the second to the last one that Labor did, and they put in 4.5 million for this gender affirming care and this training up of doctors to push this. So I guess the battle isn't over, is it? Because if, for example, the next government was Labour Greens Te Pāti Māori, puberty blockers could be straight back on the agenda, couldn't they?
Well, that's the staggering thing when you think about it. I mean, but the Te Pāti Māori is finished. The blockers doesn't exist anymore. Te Pāti Māori is imploding and getting worse by the day. Large chunks of the Green Party the same way. The Labour Party can't even sleep at night because they think themselves, who can we go into coalition with if we ever got our votes into a respectable place? So that's the problem with that. But on this issue here, the moment you take these people on, you'll find just how weak they are, and you'll find just how few supporters they have. Right here, right now, are any of them arguing about men playing in women's sports? No, they've lost the battle completely. When we ran this line, they said they're going to hold.
Okay, well, congratulations on this decision. I know it's been a tough road, and you have been doing it for a number of years. So credit to you for getting it over the line with the help of your coalition partners. Maybe you dragged them over the line. Look, could I just, while I've got you, could I ask you just about
Just as a guide, on the social media, you'd be staggered how few people have come out to criticise it. That is almost that many, and thousands going the other way. It shows you how tough politicians can become.
Yeah, no, look, we've done polling on this issue, and look, it's around 2/3 are fully supportive of it. There's a small minority, about 15%, that oppose it, and then others who are unsure. But the opposition to puberty blockers and gender confusion being taught in classrooms has just grown and grown. So, no, you're definitely on the side of public opinion. Just on the RSE, so the new curriculum is coming through. I know you've been all over that one as well, and we appreciate
Yeah.
that. The gender ideology has been taken out of the new curriculum. In fact, they're telling kids
Yes.
actually what is the legal age of sexual activity, which is the first time they've done that. There's a lot of positives in it. I noticed there was some commentary by left-wing news site Newsroom, who were talking about this parental consultation, and the bill that's been introduced by the government, or by Erica Stanford, the Minister of Education, talks about the fact that the regular 18 months, 2-year consultation with parents won't be required anymore. And you were quoted in that article, but I want to check because I suspect they may have misrepresented you. Where do you stand on that? Should parents still be consulted and told what groups are coming into the school as part of the RSE?
Right. Well, a journalist called Laura Walters asked me this question, and I thought, that's not the way you framed that question. You've misdescribed what's happening. What we're saying is, if a parent does not want the child to be in that lesson, the child's not in the lesson, at no loss to themselves. So the parents will have that say totally. But what we didn't want to do is go out amongst a disparate bunch of parents, all arguing in different areas, all over the place, and getting nowhere. And we thought we'll cut to the chase. We'll just say to parents, you don't want the kids in the class? Fine. For that lesson, it's out.
Okay, so
And they've
your
got to tell
argument,
the teacher's got to tell the parents what they're going to teach, and the parents can be able to say, no, I don't want that.
yeah, so your argument is full disclosure to the parents up front,
Yeah.
quite clear instructions that kids can be withdrawn. I was just noting that, actually, I didn't realize this, but in Alberta and Canada, they have actually banned puberty blockers. They did that last year. And they also have an opt-in for sex education. Has that ever been a consideration, that rather than this withdraw kids and they're the ones that are embarrassed and it's the parents that have got to keep on top of all this, that you actually make it opt-in, and if parents want their kids to be indoctrinated by radical outside groups, then that's their choice?
But go back to where the source started. Look, I began my life as a primary secondary school teacher before I went into the law. And back then, everybody knew what the limited program was when it came to sex education. It's what's gone wrong here is that a whole lot of teachers, unmandated, without any authority, without any license from the parents or the government, have been teaching whatever they want to teach. That's where we've got this problem from. And, no one would complain about them just sticking to the basics, the most fundamental. But no, you had all sorts of things being taught, including certain issues which would find serious public concern, that this is what's being taught to their kids. But they carried on as though, well, we are they carried on as though there's no thing called in loco parentis. That's Latin. It means in the shoes of the parent. But these teachers in the shoes of the parent decided they were the parent. That's it.
Yep.
See what went wrong?
Yep.
So we need to get things back get back in their right proportion, in their right area, and with the right authority.
Yeah.
But that's what's gone wrong in some social areas. You've had a group of ne'er-do-wells who are far too opinionated, saying, if you don't agree with me, then you don't know what you're talking about, and I'm sitting in this bureaucratic position, and I'll make the decision. That's what went wrong here.
So obviously, the curriculum has been tightened up. It's got rid of some of the radical stuff. It's more age appropriate. Some parents may still have concerns. They can remove their kids. But what's your recommendation in terms of parental consultation from here on? The new legislation is suggesting that schools will not consult, but you're saying, well, schools still need to inform parents as to the content and that they can remove their kids.
Yeah. Well, I could see the problem with consultation, because you could have 5 different blocks of parents paralyzing the place, right? Or we could just say, you, the parent, will make up your mind, and we'll cut to the chase. The outcome will be the same, but you, the parent, will mind whether the kid's going to be there or not.
Yep. Okay. Well, great progress in terms of this whole pushing back on gender ideology. Still some work to do around the sports issue, though, isn't there?
Well, yes and no. But look, out came the Boxing Federation the other day. Bang, that's it. No more women and men in women's boxing. The other boards have got taken a while to get there, even though they were sent a notice about 21 months ago. This is what's in the coalition agreement. You got to do this. But boy, some people are pretty recalcitrant about change and their belief that they've got authority to do things whether they're licensed to or not.
Yeah. Okay, look, we really appreciate your time. I have to ask you this as a fellow Labrador owner. Your Labrador suffered those injuries as a result of those idiots protesting outside your private home. Has he recovered?
Look, we thought that he, by a miracle, had not been cut in any way, even though we're still finding glass in the room, even though we're back and done the best we can. And then he developed a cyst. We thought there's something wrong with him. We go up to the vet, and it could be just a fraction of a glass could have been in there, started this. And so he's in a bandage now for the next for quite a few days until we've got on top of that. So it's just the fallout. It's disgraceful in the extreme that this could happen. And then the person that did it, having handed himself into the police, then pleads not guilty.
Please.
How do you like?
There's not a lot of logic from the left.
He knew we'd caught him, but then he's going to turn this into a cause celeb at guess whose cost? The taxpayers.
Yep. Winston, really appreciate your time. Thanks for that, and thanks for your role in yesterday. It was a good day.
Thanks very much.